My next project a nice Strat. Nice maple neck. Pick guard loaded. All kinds of junk. And of course the usual suspects. I have an old pick guard loaded from a Mexican Strat that I will install into this. And right now the plan is, after sanding, to burn this baby to bring out the grains and then finish it with an oil. So we'll see if that works. If it doesn't work, then it'll be painted a nice seafoam green. So one or the other. We'll see. Alright, so all sanded and then burned with a gas torch all over, and then of course sanded again. And now we're going to apply the first coat of not quite sure what I'm going to use yet, but I have polyurethane or I have oil, and so haven't made up my mind yet, but you will see. Just ready to go for the first coat here in a few minutes. The neck, I'm going to wait a little bit. It's in there. I've sanded it all down with 400, and that's going to be finished with teak oil. And I'm not sure, I might burn the headstock too a little bit to sort of match the body. But first I want to see how this turns out with the oil. If I don't like it, I will just sand it again and then I'll paint it. But we'll see. Stay tuned. So I've decided to use the wipe-on poly. There's 2 coats on there right now, and kind of sanded it or steel wooled it in between, so it looks pretty good. So I'm just about to add another coat and possibly a few more. So all right, I'll show you once it's all done. She's all shielded, all the cavities with copper tape, ready to put the pick guard, to load the pick guard in pretty soon. So the thing I'm using here is this 1-inch copper foil tape adhesive. It's actually quite affordable, 12 yards. It's my 3rd guitar. I did tape 2 teles, and now this Strat takes a little bit more tape, a lot more cavity, but this is pretty good stuff. And once you get used to working with it, actually quite enjoyable. Alright, there she is. Pretty good looking axe. And that shielding will ensure that she'll be quiet as much as possible. Alright, I'm back. So the body's now done. I put another coat on, so there's probably 7 or 8. And the neck, 3 coats. of the tongue oil. As you can see, it's nice and shiny. It's actually quite a nice finish, almost like the real thing for sure. Took out the nut, so I'm pretty happy with this. So what's left to do now is putting it together. So I'll show you the hardware. So the usual suspects, tuners. Well, that's part of the tuners. A little plate, springs, jack, springs for the tremolo, tremolo top, whatever that's called. And of course this is the tremolo block, which is ridiculous. So I bought this from GF. Probably a nice upgrade for like $35 or something Canadian. It's a brass one. It's quite heavy. This thing is just light as feathers, so better sustain. And this is the loaded pick guard that came with it. But this is what I'm going to put in. This comes out of one of my old Strats. You can see the different size of the pots. And this came out of a Mexican Deluxe. So I played this before. Oops, sorry. So the neck and middle are Texas Special, and then in the back I modified it with the mini humbucker, Seymour Duncan Mini. So that's what's going to go into this Strat, make it sound a little better. And pickguard pretty much the same color, which is cool. And then I also bought a couple of bone nuts, so I will be fitting that in there to replace the cheap plastic one that came with this. So some pretty nice upgrades. Pretty soon you'll be able to see the finished product. But so far so good. Every day a little bit at a time. Gotta be patient with this stuff. See you soon. So the new bone nut is in. I replaced this plastic piece here. That should give the guitar a nicer sound, maybe more sustain. So that was quite easy. Bought a couple of blanks at GF, Guitar Fetish, and now we're ready to put on the tuners. Okay, we're now ready to assemble the body. Put the parts on it. I just noticed with imports, or with stuff made in China, the tremolo block is very tight to the cavity. I thought first I might have to route it out a little bit more, but it should be fine. And also the holes do not line up with my Mexican Strat pickguard, loaded pickguard. So I will have to re-drill a few holes, but that's no big deal. Everything else should be fitting nicely. Okay, so I did have to change all the electronics from the Mexican Strat pickguard onto this kit pickguard because of course the holes didn't line up with what they drilled. You also had to Dremel out a little bit more on each side of the tremolo cavity because it didn't fit, it was too tight, and if I want to use the tremolo later it needs to be moved freely, so I just dremeled out a little bit. Also here, in order to put the screws in the jack plate, I had to Dremel out inside a little bit. They didn't make the cavity big enough. So I had to kind of Dremel that out, so no big deal. And because this Mexican Strat pickguard came with an additional button here that lets you have some different configuration on the pickups, because that wasn't really calculated in, so I had to Dremel out just a little bit here to allow for this switch not to be too close to the cavity, and of course for all the holes to line up. But it's done now, and I'm going to do a test, make sure everything works. Everything is installed, a nice tremolo block. So next will be the neck. Here we are again. So last step is the neck, and I do have to take the Dremel and clean around this neck pocket a little bit because the pickguard is kind of sticking out a little bit. So you know, with any of these guitar kits, which essentially are very inexpensive, even though the neck is nice, body is not bad, there will be little issues that you have to deal with, and you have to be comfortable with to be able to do it. And I'm looking at it as an opportunity to learn more about guitar in general and become more confident in actually attempting some of these jobs. And if things don't go well, well, you're not ruining a very expensive guitar, right? So yeah, I'm gonna take the Dremel out and fix this up a little bit, and hopefully we can get this neck attached. All right, here she is, all done. Pretty good, pretty happy with that. So all that is left is string it, intonation, nut, pickup pipes, truss rod. So over the next little while I will take care of all that, and then when she's all set up I'll do a sound check with it so you can actually listen what the guitar sounds like and how it plays. Okay, great, thank you.